You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to The Spirit Dimension with your host, Kerry Greenaway, right here on Parasearch Radio.
A good evening and welcome to The Spirit Dimension. My name is Kerry Greenaway. And I'm joined in the studio by the lovely Clare Hinks. Good evening, Clare. How are you?
Good evening, Kerry. I'm very, very well, thank you. I'm looking forward to tonight's show.
So am I. So am I. As always on a Sunday, we like to bring you something a little bit different and something sometimes very spiritual. We do love our spiritual on a Sunday, don't we, Clare?
Well, we do. Hence the Spirit Dimension.
Hence the Spirit Dimension. And we have a fantastic guest in the studio with us, don't we?
We do, and we've had her before, haven't we?
We have.
So we're looking forward to it's like a little revisit. It's great.
And we've got her in because this is one of the most straight talking ladies that I know, and she is very, very good at the topic that we're talking about tonight. We're talking about boundaries, the importance of setting boundaries within your personal life as well as within your spiritual life. That's a facet that people kind of forget or don't bother setting or kind of get upset if somebody else has set a boundary. So it's Cheryl McGregor. Good evening, Cheryl.
Hello, Kerry. How are you?
I'm very, very well, thank you. How are you? Are you over your illness?
Oh, fantastic. I'm almost there. You're probably hearing my voice. It's still a little bit not quite right, but I have enough voice to be able to do this, so everyone can run away now.
Yes, you need to run and hide because Cheryl
people...
is amazing
at
setting boundaries in her business life, her personal life, and her spiritual work.
Well, I'm hoping we're all gonna learn a little something tonight about our boundaries.
Okay, so first of all, let's think about what is a boundary. Where are our boundaries? I mean, we talk about boundaries all the time. We know where they are in our home because it's set out in our deeds of our houses and stuff like that. So we know that when someone steps into our personal boundary of our home, it's already set. We know those boundaries. So in regard to our personal life, where are those boundaries?
There's so many to start with. You have obviously your personal ones, you've got professional ones, and then you've got your energetic ones. Now, your personal ones, you know when someone is pushing you against your boundaries, and you know how you react when someone pushes against your boundaries. Your professional ones are a little bit more complicated because you think to yourself, right, I need to remain a little bit more polite, a little bit more professional, even though you really want to turn around and tell that person to sod off and not come back. The energetic ones are quite similar in that respect. And it's one of these things that you have to learn over time, or I certainly learned over time, that if I didn't put boundaries or shielding or whatever you want to call it around my own energy, I would get absolutely nobbled. My energy would get drained, I would become ill, I wouldn't be able to work, people would be able to project all sorts of things onto me and I wouldn't be able to bounce them off. This happens to a lot of people who are natural empaths and maybe don't realise that they're empaths. And what I mean by that, for those who maybe don't know what I'm talking about, is somebody who's very, very sensitive to other people's energies and feelings, that if they walk into a room, they can tell you how each person is feeling at that second because they can feel it themselves. But it's very, very easy for empaths to take on other people's problems, other people's energies, so that people speaking to them or around them, they feel 100% better, but the empath themselves feels absolutely rotten because they've taken on somebody else's stuff, they've had their own energy drained. So it's really, really important, if you're feeling yourself getting drained when you're working in a spiritual field, to actually sense check your own energy and find out what the hell is going on. Why am I feeling so drained? Why do I only feel drained if I see this particular person or I'm doing that particular type of work? And that's what I learned over time, because my energy just got ripped out of me, completely ripped out of me. And I've had to develop a whole load of different shielding and protection, all sorts of things around my own energy and around my work, and in particular around my online stuff as well, because that's an extension of your own energy. And a lot of people forget about that bit as well. It's really, really important. And things will still try and get in. Occasionally they do get in, but generally I'm learning something from that, because my team are very, very specific. I mean, you know my team, Kerry, I don't muck about. No. So they're very, very straightforward, very blunt, and I'm getting that way myself now. And I accept that. I'm blunt, I get it. But if I don't have those in place, they will let me know why I haven't had them in place, and things will happen to remind me why I do certain things or why I have to have these things in place. The kind of spiritual work or energetic work that I do is not light and fluffy. It's very, very heavy going. And if I didn't have these boundaries up, I wouldn't be able to do what I do, and I'd be in a world of pain, because the amount of stuff that can jump from other people onto me would be horrendous. And while I know how to deal with it, I would be having to work constantly to clear my own energy of everybody else's crap that I've and transmuted and all the rest of it for them. So without that, I wouldn't be able to do what I do now, and I'd be locked up somewhere, sectioned, in all honesty.
No, I totally agree with that. Some of the work you have to do, I know we work very differently, but that's why you put those structures in place for when you're working, because
Absolutely.
It can affect you, and you can't keep fighting. You when you're working, but then to come off the back of that working and then have to rework yourself because you've allowed that too close or too much to affect you, it's exhausting. So you have to have those boundaries in place, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, without it, you, like I say, you're in a world of pain.
Yeah.
Or you suddenly find that you're out of commission for 2 months.
Yeah.
Or you've got adrenal fatigue, or you've got chronic fatigue, or these sorts of things come into play very, very quickly if you're not looking after yourself properly. And part of my own self-care is to look after my own energy, because I had years when I didn't. I had years when all sorts of people got into my energy, were pulling things left, right and centre, putting things in as well, which I've spent years taking back out. So that can happen in a heartbeat. People who know what they're doing can put things in a heartbeat, and you don't even know they've done it. But if you're doing this constant sense checking of your own energy, where it is, feeling if anything's out of balance, or just trusting your gut instinct that something's not quite right. Because that's the thing, your gut instinct will tell you so much more about your own energy than even doing a scan on yourself will do, or going to see someone to scan your energy for you. And that's what I keep saying on my page, and both you ladies will know this. I say this again and again and again. You have to trust and work with your discernment. If you don't start using your discernment, you're leaving yourself open. And it's the same. I know there's people out there who have a school of thought that you don't need boundaries, you don't need shielding. And you know what? I say all power to you. If that's your reality and you don't need to use it, great. I wish you success, and I hope at some point we all get to that stage. But for what I have to do and what I'm asked to do and what I'm asked to work with, I can't do that, because it puts myself at risk. It puts the energies I'm working with at risk as well. And like I say, I'm not putting myself back in that position. And I've learned very, very quickly, because I've had to, how to put these things in place.
I would actually I would actually challenge anybody that says they don't have to put boundaries or protections in place, that they're either not working properly, right? And then we're
talking,
or in all honesty, I would challenge that, because if you're working real energy with the formats we work with, you need those boundaries and those protections in place. And I would defy that. If someone comes to me and said, I don't need it, I'd be like, then you're not working right, quite frankly.
No, if somebody did actually say that to me...
You're talking about having boundaries in place with the work that I'm saying we all do, you know, but for some people who are just coming to grips with, my goodness, I'm aware of spirit, or starting, who they're just at the beginning of their spiritual journey, if that's how you want to put it, what would you say to somebody who wants really wants to learn to put boundaries in place, where do they start?
Well, what I learned very quickly was just to imagine or state the intent that I am surrounded with a bubble of light. Now, some people will use a cloak, some people will use a bell jar. I use, again, a lot of the work I do is spherical, it's spheres, because I'm fully enclosed, there's nothing can get in. And I always say, imagine a ball of light, and I typically would say make it either silver, platinum or gold, the metallic ones, because they can bounce stuff back off. But when you're setting the intent that you have this bubble of protection around you, that light can enter and exit at will, anything else does not have permission to come in, because you don't want to block the stuff that's useful. A lot of people, when they're shielding, kind of forget that, so they block everything, which isn't the best way to do it. And I did used to do that myself. I used to block everything and then wonder why can't hear my team. It's like, yeah, you blocked them. So learn how to do that. And with this intent that nothing can come in, it's just rebounded. Anything that hits you is rebounded, but it's rebounded without, how's the phrase I use it? Rebounded without emotion. So you're not saying, I'm really angry with this, take it back. It's just a case of you're not allowed in, on you go. And Kerry and Clare can see me actually moving my hands as I'm doing this, because I usually have a hand going out in the stop position. That's how I work as well, because it's a physical manifestation of no, you don't get any further. But for people starting out, this bubble of light is quite comforting as well, because you think, right, I've got this bubble around me. I feel quite protected. I feel quite safe in this space. And again, for people who know they're going into a situation, say at work or with a family member, that you know is going to be problematic, or there's a potential for a fight or something to kick off. If you have this bubble around you, it gives you this sense of protection. It gives you this sense of security. And I can only say to the folk who haven't tried it, just try it. Honestly, just try it and see if it makes a difference to you. You can have all sorts of things. If you don't want to envisage a bubble, envisage a gold disc over your heart, your solar plexus, and the back of your shoulder blades to stop you getting stabbed in the back energetically. There's all these things that you can use. And again, it comes with time, what you're comfortable using, what you can envisage. If you have 20 layers of bubbles of light around you, so be it. When I first started out, I had about 20, and it was different beings and ascended masters I would ask to come in and help me to hold that energy, to hold me safe, because of what I was doing and what I was having to really rip out of my energy, and because it should never have been in the first place. So I had a year of this. And it used to be first thing in the morning, all these things would go up. I'm now at the point that they're always up, and I just reinforce them. Yeah. And my team are, I don't want to say they're like guard dogs or bouncers, but that's technically what they are. Yeah. And they ensure nothing comes through. They bounce it all back. Or they'll alert me if something's going on. They're usually very good at sort of getting in touch, or just give me a wee nudge to say, right, something's going on that shouldn't be, deal with it. Yeah. Because that's the point they're at with me.
That's on a spiritual level. Now, what Cheryl's doing in regards to her physical, she's showing her hands, she's putting her hand up going, no, that's not acceptable. When when people have problems asserting themselves in a personal level, on a day-to-day level, it's actually it's a useful tip to do. Put your hand up. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to lose your temper. Just put your hand up and go, no, that's not acceptable to me. And again, it's a double-edged sword, this one, because you work it in a spiritual way, in the way we've discussed. But on a personal day-to-day level, it's also important to have those boundaries as well. If someone's not treating you in the right way, or affecting your energy, or upsetting you, you can be assertive without being aggressive. And little tips like this help. Put a shield up, your psychic shield up, to stop that energy from affecting you. Put your hand up. No, that's not acceptable to me. You can keep calm. You don't have to lose your temper, but you're setting your boundary. And it's having that confidence to do that without losing that emotional control, isn't it? And you have to have that emotional control in place, whether you're working spiritually or on a day-to-day personal level.
Absolutely, because it's one of these things that comes with time. It comes with practice. It's that first time when you say no to something. If you're a person who's always said yes to everything, saying no for the first time is really, really, really terrifying, because you think, oh God, they're going to kick off. I remember the first time I did it in my previous work, I thought, oh God, my boss is going to kick off. You know what? He was fine. He was fine. He said, no, that's fine. No problem. I'll go and ask somebody else. Yeah. So it's this expectation that we build up as well, this fear of consequences and all the rest of it. But actually, this is you going, this is my defined line. and actually, no, I'm not having this anymore. You pushed me to my limit, but rather than get really angry or upset, I'm just going to say that, no, not acceptable. I don't want to do this. Thank you very much. And it's amazing how many people just go, right, that's fine, particularly if you're quite firm about it. And I know the first time you do it, your voice is shaking. You probably take about a couple of hours just to get the adrenaline calm back down, but it is possible. I was a person who couldn't say boo to a goose. I know a lot of people struggle to understand that about me now. I was incredibly shy. I was incredibly introverted, very much a people pleaser. And even speaking to someone was a trauma, let alone saying to someone, no, I'm not doing this, or no, I don't want to do this. Social anxiety, all the rest of it, that was me, a big ball of stress. But I have learned how to do this. So if I can learn how to do this, trust me, anyone can. This is what I say about my work as well. If I can do it, anyone can do it. It's just applying it and practicing it and keeping going, not saying, oh, here's a boundary, but I'm not going to respect my own boundaries, so everyone else can just trample all over it. If you don't respect your own boundaries, the message you're putting out there is, well, just walk all over them because I won't really do anything about it. But if you respect your own boundaries, or rules, if you want to call them rules, it's another word for them, people start to respect that, and then they know how far you can push before actually, no, I better not go any further because she's going to murder me. It's a hard balance to find at times. And again, like I say, practice, and eventually it becomes second nature.
And think about what your boundaries are. I mean, you know, we all come across situations where you're going, that doesn't quite feel right, but I don't know why. So self-examination is very important in this as well. Why does that energy or that situation feel not quite right to you? Work out what it is and then go, okay, so there's my boundary.
Exactly.
I can compromise.
And it depends on the work, doesn't it? It depends on the work that you're actually doing as well. Because, I mean, for you, Kerry, you do a lot of paranormal investigations and stuff. So your boundaries in that sort of environment are going to be needing to be secure, aren't they? So you're going to need to put boundaries around yourself, around the building, around wherever the environment is that you're working. For me as a medium, I pick up other people's emotions, and I have to have boundaries, you know, my spirit guide boundaries, so that people know I need boundaries from like physical boundaries, spiritual boundaries. You know what I mean? And Cheryl, I mean, explain what you do, exactly what you do.
Right. It's I'm an energy worker. That's probably what I class myself. I don't really put myself in a box as such, but when I'm asked, it's like, well, I'm an energy worker. I work with energy. But I work with quite specific realms of energies, or they work through me. I'm a channel. It's not me that the work's coming from. I'm just holding the space, or I'm the channel for what needs to come through for that person. So say, for example, it doesn't matter if the person's here or the person's the other side of the world, because I do a lot of distance work with this as well, is that I have to look after myself and look after that person as well. I'm generally holding space for them. So because I'm holding space for them, I have to make sure that it's secure, it's safe, that they can release what needs to be released without fear of things rebounding or things getting in, and that they're looked after. I have a duty of care to that person, but I also have a duty of care to myself. So when I first started out, I would forget to put my own protection up, do all the work for this person, then it would all hit onto me. So
but it actually is a strong physical feeling later, isn't it?
God,
it really affects you.
God, yeah. For me, I feel sick. I feel sick in my stomach. I'm really, really shaky, like an adrenaline.
I was just going to say, what's the physical feeling for you? I was just going to say that. Yeah.
I feel really, really sick. My head will start pounding really badly, and I won't be able to concentrate. Like I said, it's like a sugar high or a sugar crash.
Yes.
It's probably the best adaptation, or a caffeine crash. It feels like that.
Yeah.
And if I let this go on for a prolonged period of time, I have problems sleeping. I won't be rested. I'll start to feel ill. I'll start to get a cold or a cough. I start to feel physically unwell. And that's when I generally have a oh shit moment and think, right, what the hell's going on with my energy that I'm feeling like this, because I shouldn't be. Because there's no external factor making me feel like that. So why am I feeling like that? And again, it's having this boundary between myself and the other person. I see everything in, like I said, in spheres and geometric shapes. So there's a sphere around that person, there's a sphere around me, but there's also a sphere around us both, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I've got my team all around it. it's really difficult to explain exactly what I do, but I'm trying my best.
No, you're doing really, really well. Now,
Yeah, I think you're making it clear, actually. Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
The thing is, when we all work in the way we work, we are givers. The reason we went into the work that we do is because we want to help. We want to help people effectively. And when you help people, you give. And when you give, you can give too much.
Too much, yes.
And it's very, very easy to step over that line, your own personal line, and try and overhelp someone.
Yep.
And those kind of, sometimes those kind of people are takers. They don't actually want the help. They say they do.
Nope.
They say they want the help. They say they want to change. They say they want those manifestation techniques or whatever way they want that help in regards to. And as the way anybody, whether it be an empath, sensitive, medium, whatever, you want to do your best for that person. So you will overgive because you really believe that what that person's telling you. They come to you generally in complete dire straits. They're professing that they want the help, they want to change. And so you end up overgiving. And that's the problem, isn't it? The giving and the taking in the energy exchange. And that's why it's so important to have a boundary and be strong about that boundary, because you can find yourself losing yourself in the quest to help someone else.
Absolutely. And this is where the thing about charging for help or charging for what you do comes into play as well.
Very much so.
There is a school of thought. I don't agree with it. There is a school of thought that they say, oh, all healing should be free, yada, yada, yada. You're not paying for the healing. The healing will happen regardless. What you're paying for is that person's time, their energy, their training, what they've had to put in place. It's called an energy exchange for a reason. There has to be give and take at the same time. Otherwise, you have a very unbalanced energy field.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of problems come in as well. Again, when you're first starting out, you want to do so much for free, and then people start to take advantage.
Yes.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
We have all been there. I still have the mental scarring. No, I don't. But
I think we all have a few mental scars from times like that.
but it's this thing of you have to value yourself. And if you're constantly doing things without charging for it, you're not valuing yourself. You're not valuing your training. You're not valuing the time that you've put in. And if you're not valuing it, other people won't either.
No, true.
So this is where charging for work, for healing and all the rest of it really is very important. And a lot of people get quite anxious about it. They get quite upset about it. They get anxiety around it as well, of asking for money. And it's like, well, money is just energy. It's all it is. It's just energy. And all you're doing is having this exchange.
Yeah.
Part of that is self-confidence as well, though. Wouldn't you agree?
It is, because it's very hard at the very beginning of asking that first person for money. That other person doesn't care. They've probably got the money sat there in front of them and just waiting for you to ask them. But it's very, very... I don't even know the word I want to use. I was a nervous wreck the first time I did that. After that, it was fine. But it's just that fear of the unknown or fear of offending. It's fear in general. But it is very, very important. I just want to put that out there to folk who maybe don't charge for the healing. You're not charging for the healing. You're charging for your time, your energy, your training. Don't think of it as you're charging for the healing.
And at the end of the day, you work hard. You work hard when you do this stuff. You know, when you're working with energy, no matter how you're doing it, you're working hard. And I used to find it exhausting, you know, but I'd still feel really bad for taking money. So it is a self-confident thing. It's grow, don't you? The more you understand your boundaries, the more you work with your guides, should we call them A-team? Is that what we call them? Kerry calls them the A-team. The easier it becomes, doesn't it? Like the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And you know, you start to understand it more, don't you, as well? As a I don't know if you want to say light worker, if that's what, you know,
light worker,
working in the spiritual.
No, I totally agree. The way I see it is I'm providing a service. I have built up a hell of a lot of knowledge. I've also practiced that knowledge, so I know what I'm talking about on a lot of different areas, a lot of different subjects. Now, if someone comes to me for help, I will help them. But like Cheryl has said, I have invested a lot of time and energy, my own personal time and energy, into gaining the knowledge that I've got and the way I work. And I'm perfectly happy to help anybody, but they will find if they invest, i.e. put money down for it, they're more likely to be committed to the work that needs to be done within themselves. I can only show them the way. They also need to do some of that work themselves. Do you know what I mean? And if they've actually paid for that, they're more likely to go down that process. If you're just giving it out for free, they'll just take it and not do the work and then go, well, it didn't work. And you'll go, well, hold on a second, you didn't do the work. So, you know, I can talk to you till the cows come home. I can sit here for 20 hours on Skype talking you through concepts, but you have to do the work yourself sometimes. You can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. And particularly the way I work is slightly different from a healing process because I don't do the physical healing side of it. But and I'm providing a service to people, whether that be me sitting there doing an hour's. I mean, I did a 3-hour spiritual one-on-one yesterday, and we covered so many different areas of spiritual workings and stuff like that. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But the person who it was got so much more out of it because he had actually invested in that himself.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So I see that as an investment.
I mean, at the end of the day, when they're passing you, when they're paying you for a service, they're coming to it well, aren't they? Because you're not giving them information just for the fun of it. You're giving them this information because we believe it's going to help them, and they need to put this plan into practice to make their life better, which is what they're paying you for.
Exactly. And if you know, at the end of the day, exactly, that's right. Now we have actually got a question in the chat room. Kaz has said, I am an empath sensitive and have found that if I feel someone is being dishonest or using me, I literally just cut them off. Am I handling that wrong?
No, God, no, that's a gut reaction. That is a gut reaction to it. And you know what? That is self-preservation. So that is the correct thing to be doing for you. I get a lot, I have to be very careful how I phrase this. I see a lot of trickery and masks and bullshit. A lot of bullshit in people's energy, the people projecting and all the rest of it. So I'm in quite a unique position that I will see through what's being said, what's being projected, what's being shown to what's actually underneath it. And I have a couple of ways of dealing with it. I had a lovely little troll on my main page a couple of weeks ago, and he was spouting off all over the place, and I thought, I have a couple of ways to deal with it. I can either engage and try and have a dialogue, all the rest of it, and then I thought, you know what? I'm not feeding this because it's all nonsense. I'm just going to block you and ban you.
Yeah, just get rid.
So you got to listen. You got to listen to your gut. You pick your battles. There are some that you can reason with, and then there's other times you just think, you know what, life's too short. There's other people out there for you. I'm not the person for you. But if you are seeing through stuff, and you know when your energy is being used or your energy is being pinched, or somebody's basically taking the absolute Michael, block them, ban them, walk away from them. It's self-preservation. There's nothing wrong with that. I actually applaud people who do it. Do you know that? I actually applaud the people who have
to do.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. You have to look after yourself. If you don't look after yourself, how the hell are you going to look after anyone else or help anyone else? Yeah. If I don't if I don't practice what I preach, what kind of person, what kind of example am I showing other people? So that's why a few people who know me from, say, for example, my sales group, my crystal sales group, know how strict I am in there. I am unbelievably strict in that group. And I call them rules, but they're all boundaries. Mm-hmm. And there's a list as long as your arm of the number of rules and regulations and whatever you want to call it in that group. But it works because this happens. It's like, this is your boundary. That's as far as you can push it. Any further than that, you're gone. Yeah. And that is when I am at my absolute strictest in life, is in a sales group. Go figure. But if I didn't have that in place, it would be overrun with the same crap that's in every other sales group online, and nothing would happen. And everybody would leave because it's not looked after. I'm not honouring the space. I'm not honouring the people in that space who feel safe enough to put their prized crystals and everything else up to look for new caretakers. Exactly. It's quite a big thing.
So you're putting up physical boundaries. Boundaries. People need boundaries. Yeah. We need boundaries in our lives, don't we? Regardless of whether it be spiritual or emotional. We like you were saying before, we have boundaries in our home. People can come into our home, so there are lines that aren't crossed, and you go to the supermarket, and there are boundaries. Yeah. You go to the public toilet. Pee in the corner. There are boundaries, there are rules.
The rules. Yeah, there's ways of working.
The rules, man.
Yeah. But even with children, you know, like when you've got your kids, there are certain things you let your kids get away with. Why would you allow a stranger to come onto your public space, whether that be on any of the socials this is, and bearing in mind there are so many now out there that we're all on, you know what I mean? Why would you allow somebody that you don't even know to come onto your space and effectively abuse it? I've had my fair share of trolls in the past. I
had one myself, funnily enough, the other day. So it's really funny this comes up.
Yeah, it's a theme that seems to happen, isn't it? Yeah. Now, you can... I would say this. You can generally judge whether or not they're a genuine troll or they're just questioning in an aggressive way what you're doing. Because they will be personal. If it's just a general troll, they'll be personal straight away.
Yes.
They'll go straight personal.
Absolutely.
And don't even bother engaging. That's my boundary on that one. If they're the minute they go personal, gone. I ain't even going to talk to you. You know what I mean? Go away, right? Because I don't do personal. There's no way I would call somebody out and call them names. There's no way I would do that myself. So you don't do it to me. Go away, right? However, if you're questioning what I'm doing, i.e. saying there's no scientific proof for this, then I will come back at you and I'll give you my answers on that. If you then go personal, then you're gone. You know what I mean? There's my boundary. I'm quite happy to discuss a situation with somebody if they're doing it in a rational, intelligent manner.
Yeah.
If they're personal,
I'm exactly
straight away gone.
Yeah, I'm a bit like that as well because I have my viewpoint is everybody has a different connection. Everybody sees different things from a different angle. So sometimes I'm actually learning from the other person when they're saying, well, actually, this is what I see, or this is what I believe, or this is how I work. It's that two-way thing again. And it's having the respect for that other person to say, I might not agree with you, but please just put your opinion across and we can debate about it. And I have had that happen. Or somebody's come on looking for a fight and I've gone, thank you. That's an alternative viewpoint I hadn't considered. And it's like, oh, she's not going to fight with me.
Yeah. Oh,
okay. Yeah, you've had that. Because it's like, well,
you take a step back when you go, okay, I've not looked into that side. I'll go away and look into it.
Yeah, I've had a few examples of that, and it's a case of, well, perhaps you've been shot down in flames in so many other different groups that something's come up that triggers you. And you think, oh God, it's this again. It's like, well, that's an alternative viewpoint. Thank you for putting it across, and thank you for feeling that you can put it across.
Yeah.
So that's this two-way.
Exactly. A boundary. When you set a boundary for yourself, I would actually say, in regards to my spiritual work, I know my boundaries. I will not budge on those at all because they're tried and tested, and I've worked a lot of years with those boundaries and got to the
Kerry,
point where they're boundaries.
Can I just interrupt you for a second and ask you, what are your boundaries? Like when you say I've got boundaries in my spiritual work, tell us.
Well, my spiritual boundaries are I work with my team, but I will call my team out if I think they're pushing me too fast, too far. So I will question my spirit team. If I feel that they're pushing me in a direction I'm not happy to work in, and I actually go back quite a way with this one, I don't want to work platform, I don't want to do physical healing.
Have they pushed you in that direction before then?
Oh, yeah. Several times I've been told, go down, push me towards the circle. No, told you, I'm not doing platform mediumship. That's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
I even went on a paranormal investigation. A medium was there, and he'd been lovely enough to actually be my lift that night. And he was going, you so need to come. You need to come to my circle. I'll get you up on platform. No.
No, because that's your personal boundary, isn't
That's
it?
my boundary.
That's it.
That's it.
As
not doing
physical human being, not a spiritual being, but a physical. You in the physical life. No, that's your boundary. I don't want to do that. I'm happy to work with you. I'll do anything else, but I'm not doing that. So that's your boundary. So you can be. My point is that you can be physically strong, can't you? You can say to your spirit team, once you're aware of them, once you've got to know them, and you're, you work, because you do work together. I mean, we all work with our spirit teams really closely. I do know what I do. Yeah. But there are things that I've said, hang on a minute, we need to do this really slowly. I'll do this, but not at your speed. It's too much. Yeah, exactly. So you need to set a physical boundary. And I think if you're just starting out, or you're just getting to know your spirit team, or you're just starting to understand the whole spiritual, working with spirit and all of that kind of stuff, whatever your area be, whether it's just energy or, you know, healing, whatever it is, then you need to know that you can say, I know what I want to do from this. I know what I want from this. And it's okay to do that and not to feel like you're losing your mind.
Yeah.
Going,
Yeah.
You're not at mercy. When you work with spirit, you're not at their mercy that they can, you're not just a tool that they can do what they want with you. Say
at the end of the day, it's a team, isn't it?
It's a team. Exactly. That's the key word in this. It's a team. Now, again, my other boundary was physical healing. Didn't want to get into physical healing at all. Bearing in mind, I work with crystals and minerals, and that's quite a huge side of it. That's a huge side of it. You know, and I actually went, I'm not interested. I don't want to do physical healing. I'm not stupid. I know the physical healing side of it, but I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? That's not how I want to work. However, right, so look at it in a funny kind of way. So my spirit team went, oh, okay, fine. Not very happy with
your spirit team are up against the wall with their hand on their head going, oh my God.
But look what they've done.
What are we going to do with this one?
But look what they've done. They've put me on a public forum, giving other people who do work in that way for a voice for them to get that message out there for people. So they've put me actually on a public forum. So if you want to look at it in a final kind of way, I'm on a platform.
Yes,
it's just not a physical me standing in front of a group of people, although that's come in this year. Funny old world, isn't it? But again, it's not in speaking as a medium or in a physical healing way. It's speaking in the way that I am comfortable with in front of a crowd of people, getting that message out there for other people, to show what they do. And also, in regards to the physical, the amount of clients I have that do the crystal healing, I'm supplying them the tools so they can do that for them. So although I'm not the one doing the actual work in regards to the physical healing or the mediumship, they kind of have worked with me with that and still put me in that position. So they will do that for you. They will help you and facilitate what they need from you within what your boundary is. Does that make sense, ladies?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Completely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I quite regularly tell my team to sod off, and they do. Quite regularly to say, you know what, I'm not in the mood. I am too tired. You're asking me to do too much. Bugger off. I'll let you know when I'm up to speaking to you again. And I do this quite regularly, and they know when I do that to take it seriously, because this thing about I have physical boundaries. This is an energetic one going up. I can't take any more right now. Go away. And that's me putting my hand up again going, just go away. Don't speak to me. Give me 2 weeks to just get my energy back where it needs to be. I'm not interested right now. You can do that for your team. It doesn't matter. This is you saying, again, this is as far as I'm prepared to take it just now. And that's it. Let me just integrate this and come back to me later. You go and do your own thing. You don't need to be working through me all the time. You're fully capable of doing it yourself.
Yeah.
Go away. Come back later.
That's very, very true. That's so true. Yeah. I mean, when you get woken up in the middle of the night and you're like, no.
Yeah.
No. I have had 2 hours sleep. I worked all day. I don't think so. Do you know what I mean? It's those kind of boundaries. And that's no different whether it's a spiritual being doing this to you or a physical person doing this to you. I mean, I see so many parallels in boundaries in regards to the spiritual regarding the personal boundaries you need to set with people as well. If you think someone's taking the mickey out of you on a personal level, there is nothing wrong with going no, and actually they respect you more for it.
Yep. It's this other thing as well of people who take the mick a little bit, and don't get me wrong, there's time delays between different countries and all the rest of it, but I get private messages 24/7. I get private messages through my account every hour of the day. Now, I've got to the point now, I switch it off. Yeah. I've taken it off my mobile phone. So if I'm out and about, people can't contact me. And that sounds quite harsh, but that's one of my boundaries, saying, you know what, when I'm out, I'm not doing this work. So you can't contact me.
Because
and I'm sure it
consumes you, doesn't it?
Oh,
and
my God,
and because we carry these mobile devices everywhere we go, Even if you pick up your phone to take a photograph, you're still checking, aren't you? You're still automatically checking your notifications, or who's messaged me, or somebody wants this and somebody wants that. And that's a boundary. I think that's really important, because actually Kerry and I were having this conversation earlier, weren't we? Yeah. About we're going on holiday in a week, and I said I'm not going to check. My phone will be up, taking photographs, but I'm going to take it off while I'm away. Yeah. Because I don't want to be consumed by it. And I think that that break, I will tell my spirit guys, listen, I'll meditate while I'm away, and it'll be lovely, because I won't be pressured into it. But
it is funny. So many people all at the same time who do what we do, or do similar to what we do, all said, I'm taking Messenger off my phone, I'm coming off all the social media platforms for a bit, I'm taking a break. And you know what? It's actually really healthy to do that. And this is another boundary. So, or if you, say, have a Facebook page, you can put opening and closing hours. So if somebody contacts you, say, well, you've contacted me outside the opening hours. It's like, hello, I have to sleep occasionally. But is this, again, this expectation? Okay, right, I can see where they're taking me now. It's this expectation of others that you will be available at all hours of the day when they need you. That's not how it works. You will be in touch with that person when you are physically and energetically able to get in touch with that person. Yeah. It's not this instant gratification that we're so used to with all these social media platforms. And it's actually taking it off your phone. Do you know how liberating that is? To think, I can have a look at my phone and I'm not going to panic because I can't answer this just now. I'm actually just going to look at my phone because somebody's phoning me. Yeah. Or I need to take a photograph. It's taking all... Again, how to phrase this without all the swearing that they're giving me. Oh my goodness.
It says explicit.
Yeah, it's true. There's explicit and there's explicit.
Paul, before we got you on.
I'm blunt to that point of rudeness. But it's this thing, claiming your life back, taking your power back, not giving your power to everybody else because they can contact you or they can do this, that, and the next thing, and you'll instantly respond to them, regardless of what you're doing, how you're feeling, all the rest of it. I had a case in point, this is a bugbear for me, where middle of last month I was facilitating my very first ever retreat, and I'd said to folk on my sales group, don't contact me. What happened? People contacted me. Do you know what I did? I ignored them. So it's like, I said I was away, I meant it. So this is where I'm saying these boundaries get stronger and stronger with me. It's like, my focus was elsewhere. I had told you my focus was elsewhere, but you still thought I was going to drop everything and contact you. No, really not. So this is this thing of how, again, I'll take the swearing out of this, is saying what you mean and mean what you say and actually follow through on it. It's all very well saying this A, B, and C and saying that's my boundary, but the second you cross over that, it's not worth anything because you've completely contradicted yourself and you've broken your own boundary. This is where my tough love approach comes into a lot of the things I do. It's like, if I've said I'm not contactable, I mean it. And they'll get a brick wall until I'm ready to talk to them, or I've finished what I was doing. Or if I'm unwell, that's the other thing. I say to folk, I'm unwell, don't contact me, and I get loads of stuff in. But again, I ignore it. So this is quite an important one, particularly if you work in the spirit field or the energy field, because if you are that drained, the last thing you need is an attachment from somebody else saying, I know you're unwell, but ignore it. Till you feel well, ignore it. And I get this all the time. And it was little fits and starts, everything calms down, and then all of a sudden there's another little flurry. And I watch when these flurries happen to see what else is going on that's causing it, or what's being triggered through the collective that's causing it, or what's being triggered up in the heavens that might be contributing towards it. And it's always fascinating when I take a step back and say, right, everyone's acting completely crazy. And it's A, B, and C contributing to it all. So you know what? I'll just wait till that calms down and then I'll contact people. Or my other response, as you've both seen, is to come on and do a live feed and say, I've had enough. Yeah. And just put bang, bang, bang. If you do this, this is the consequence. If you do that, that's the consequence. And I'm not mucking about because you've pushed me to that point where I can no longer be polite about it. And that's when I get quite scary, or I'm told I get quite scary.
I love it when you do that. I'm sitting there going, go girl, go on, you tell him.
You can generally tell how I'm feeling with the colour of the post that goes up. If it's pink, it's all right. If it's black, so just run. Run.
Go, they're really upset now.
But the admin team cover when the black post comes out. It's like, oh God, what have they done to her now? But again, it's just this thing of knowing your boundaries and respecting them. If you don't respect your boundaries, nobody else will, and they'll just walk all over them, because it's like, well, you've said that, but you've done this. And again, it's this thing, it comes with practice. It's very uncomfortable to start with, but you can tell from the way I'm talking about it, I'm getting more and more, I'm more firm with what I say. I'm meaning it. The consequences are happening. The warnings
Because the
have all
more
come.
you say it, the more you believe it.
Absolutely. And it's like that intent is out there saying, if that person does that, that's a consequence. And if they don't like it, well, they shouldn't have done it in the first place because they've been warned. And that sounds really, really harsh for somebody who works with energy. But with what I work with, I have to be like that. I don't have any option. I can't be light and fluffy with what I do. No. It will land me in a world of all sorts of trouble. I deal with some really crappy stuff for people. And it's this thing of, I've accepted that. It's that thing of, if not me, then who? I can do this work, so I will do this work. But don't try and wind me up or piss me off in the process, because you won't like what comes back, because I'll just put it right back to you. And it's this thing of, don't project your stuff onto me, because it'll be deflected straight back to you. And then you have to deal with the consequences because you're not looking at it. So you'll just get it back. Yeah. And people don't like that. And it's a case of, well, I don't like it when people do it to me, so don't do it to other people.
No, that's right. And you also have to be incredibly aware of your own self, because if you're
Exactly.
in a bad day and a bad mood and you go into an energetic working, you have to have that higher, lower self thinking and remove yourself from your bad mood and go, that my bad mood is actually caused because I was shopping around and it was all crap, and then someone took a bill that shouldn't have taken a bill at that time. That's actually not consequential. That's not important for this. I need to remove that. I need to step out of that into my higher self thinking, remove my emotions. And if I can do that for you, then please give me the respect and do that for me, because I'm there helping you. You know what I mean? And there we go. There we go. You know, that's a way of working. Oh, it's so important, isn't it, ladies?
It really is.
And we all get really passionate about this.
You and me both, my love. You and me both. It's one of these things that people just either don't talk about or don't know about. And that concerns me slightly, because
or are
it's
they
just
afraid of doing that?
Oh, afraid of doing it because they think, oh, I'll come across that I'm not nice, or I don't want to work with people, or yada, yada, yada. And it's like, no, it's not like that at all. You have to put yourself front and centre. You have to look after yourself. If you don't, you're just going to get nobbled.
Yeah. I mean, one person once said to me, that's not very love and light of you, is it? When I put a boundary in place with them. It's not very love and light of you. And I went, it's actually more love and light than you realise. That's actually more love and light than you realise. And they were like, really took aback. They didn't want to work with me after that kind of moment. And actually, I didn't want to work with them.
That's fine.
And that was
you're
fine.
Not going to work
it was absolutely fine. You're not going to be able to work with everybody, are you, Cheryl?
No, God, no. That's what I say to folk as well. I am not for everybody. I don't claim to be for everybody. My energy is pretty harsh. It's very blunt, borderline rude at times, but that is simply because of what I have to do. And I say this on my page all the time, you know this, you've seen this. If you are following a page or following someone on social media and all of a sudden you think, you know what, I'm not liking what they're saying, I don't like where this is going, then leave. Yeah. Use your power of discernment. Nobody's asking you to stay. Nobody's forcing you to stay. If something has changed and you don't like it, then leave. Move on. Other people will come in, because my vibration is constantly shifting. And the people that I used to follow, I don't follow anymore, because everything's evolving. That's the whole point. Everything evolves, everything changes, everything shifts. So somebody who maybe was following me 2 years ago might think, now, actually, this person is off her head. She is talking out her rear end, and I don't want to listen to this anymore. Move on and find somebody else. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Don't stick with that one person just because that person once spoke sense to you 2 years ago. Move on. Doesn't matter. We don't take it personally.
It's making sense to you. Find that person. They're out there, and trust us. We ain't going to get offended if you move on. We probably won't even notice.
We'll be quite happy. And this is again, I say to folk, if you do that, you know what? I applaud you for doing it, because you are listening to yourself. You are listening to your own boundaries.
Yes.
You are listening to your own energy. It goes two ways. This is this thing.
Yeah.
It's like, listen to yourself. Listen to what's coming up. If you're asking for signs and the signs keep coming up, pay attention to them. Yeah. They're always there. Just pay attention to them. God knows they slap me about the head for my own. I can see stuff for other people, but not so much for myself. But nah,
I think that's
it's fine. I've got other people who will.
But that's why you surround yourself with. But you know, this was something I said the other day. Although I'm very, very good at working with everybody else's energy, I still have a team I go to on the physical level. I will go to people like Cheryl or Clare, and there are a few others out there as well that I will go to and go, okay. And I had a situation not so long ago. I went to Cheryl. What do I do? Do you think this could happen? Do you think that could happen? She gave me some really sound advice that I needed to re-clarify that for myself. She said, this is, in my opinion, this is what's happened. And I was like, you know what, thank you so much. Do you know what I mean? And it's because I'd let a personal boundary slip because somebody had got too close. Yep. I'd allowed someone very, very close to me. And I'd let a personal boundary slip, which you kind of do when it's an emotional attachment to a person. You can't help that sometimes. Yeah. But after the event, you then have to work at getting rid of that. And that is where I turned to my physical team on you know, I know the spiritual lessons that were there, as we all do. They're never nice to know, but you know, your spiritual lessons. But on a physical, you know, on a day-to-day level, I'm like, I'm really struggling now with this. What do I do? Cheryl gave me some really, really sound advice. And the bottom line of that was I'd created an issue because I hadn't respected my own personal boundaries within the relationship effectively.
But it's easy, isn't it, to let that slip?
Of course,
we become complacent. We put our boundaries in place, and we just take it for granted that they're there, don't we? Yeah. I'm waving my arms around like I can see my.
We all are. We're all having a wave of arms over here. Honestly, if you can see us in the studio, we're really like emphasising what we're saying with our hands.
Yes, we are.
But it's
because my boundaries are here. But we do get complacent, don't we? We know that they're there, and then we forget. Or whatever, you just get on with everyday life, don't you? And it's so easy, like you're saying, Kerry, to let somebody get too close to you, and then it just all goes.
But generally, it happens for a reason, because that's what I've found with my lot. If something happens or something gets into my energy system, there's always a reason from it, and it's generally from.
Oh, she's frozen on us.
I then use with other people. Back. That's how I'm working, and that's how they're teaching me. Oh, sorry, I'm back. No, I'm still here. Is that they show me that this has happened, this is what you're going to learn from it, and this is how you're going to take it forward to work with other people. I had to go to somebody who I trust implicitly at the beginning of the year to sort my energy out, because quite a few things had attached in that were draining me, absolutely draining me and undermining what my own work and all the rest of it. And I've learned now another thing to put in place because of that. And I've learned other protections to put around people when I'm working with them.
So what you're saying is then that they set the hiccups, these little blips in boundaries, mainly to teach us.
Yeah, there's always a lesson in it somewhere. And if you can find the positive spin on it, and there's always a positive and negative spin on it. If you don't fall into the drama of it or fall into the really negative stuff, you will see why it happened. You will see why you allowed it to happen as well, because it's a conscious choice. If you let a boundary drop, it's a conscious choice. You might not realise it, but it is. And there's generally a reason for it having happened. You might not like the reason. It might be extremely uncomfortable, but shadow work is not comfortable. That's the whole point. And it's generally shadow work that this happens on behalf of. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. Is that like this, what's that phrase? Your team are trying to give me a phrase and I'm not really hearing it. So you know what, I'll go past that. It's a teaching thing. And if I want to continue doing what I'm doing, I have to learn the consequences of not doing things as well as doing things, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So that's part of my work. It's part of where it's going as well. It's part of where it's shifting and changing, because my work is shifting and changing. Yeah. There's no such thing as a straight line in my life. It keeps weaving and
I found this with the spiritual way. The evolution that you go through with that. And you have to reassess those boundaries on a regular basis, because what you set as a boundary once, like 2 years ago, actually becomes a block.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you could find you're blocking yourself because of a boundary you've put in place, particularly if you're strong with your boundaries. And then you have to reassess that boundary and go, okay, so is that a relevant boundary now? Or do I need to shift that boundary or reassess that boundary for myself? And if that's what you need to do, then it's your boundary. It's up to you what you do with
Absolutely. Exactly. It's part of your energy. So the only person who's going to fix it is you. It's like you've put it in place. You're the one that can tweak it or rework it or whatever it is you need to do. But take responsibility for your own stuff and your own energy.
Oh, I
because that's a biggie. So many people. So this is another huge topic all by itself.
Yes, it is.
But
Self-responsibility. Hence, let me get a date in. We'll talk about that next.
Yeah, I know. If you don't take responsibility for your own stuff, you are opening yourself up to so much nonsense. So much nonsense. This is where things start getting projected, or you start blocking yourself.
You have to be responsible. I say this to people so much. You can't just do this stuff. Like, for me as a medium, you can't, like, people come to me and they go, I'm hearing stuff and can you help me do this? And I say, if you're going to do this, you put boundaries in place. That's the first thing I say. You need protection before you go any further. And when you start doing readings for people and you start properly, then you need to be responsible for what you're saying to people. You can't just say any else. People take things to heart, and they really, particularly if you're doing things like cards or predicting or any of that sort of stuff, you have to be responsible about how you deliver your messages. If
Absolutely.
it worries me to death. It worries me to death, and I really, I'm really careful as especially I can be in my field.
I will always say a disclaimer before I begin the reading.
Yep.
Yes.
Always.
And that's something actually that I've just brought into place as well, a disclaimer. But yes, you need to take the proper, follow the proper steps when you're doing this stuff.
No, because I'm exactly the same.
Because there's always somebody out there that wants to kick ass, and you're doing the best you can do. It's like having a troll in your front row, isn't it?
Cheryl.
Maybe I should rephrase that.
Oh dear.
You were talking about the page, the troll thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Or, as my team so politely put it the other day, it's own your crap. That's how they put it.
Exactly.
Own crap.
I agree.
That's without all the other swearing. That was the cleanest one. And I stand by that. That's why I take responsibility for I take responsibility for what comes out my mouth and what I write and all the rest of it. I take full responsibility for that.
Yeah.
Because it's mine.
Yeah.
And if people don't like it, fine.
No, I totally agree with that. Self-responsibility is a huge point of this. Anyway, ladies, we've actually come to the end of the show.
What?
I know. That went really quick, didn't it? I do feel self-responsibility is going to be coming up, though.
Yes.
I think maybe
own your crap.
Own your crap. Yeah, self-responsibility could be a very big topic that we will be discussing next with Cheryl, I feel. Anyway, I want to just give a massive shout out to Parasearch Radio's Penny G. Morgan. Today she ran a 10k marathon in whatever the word is, I can't remember the word, for Dementia UK. She has raised a huge amount of money. We would like to thank everybody that sponsored her. If you would like to sponsor, you still can. The link is on the Parasearch Radio group page, so pop over there if you can if you could sponsor her, that would be absolutely awesome. So she's done it, she's exhausted, and she's sleeping. Bless her, it was the last message I've got. That was her boundary. Please don't message me anymore. I'm exhausted and I'm tired. But well done, Penny. Massive round of applause to you. That was absolutely brilliant. Now, also on the Parasearch Radio group page, we have a competition running at the moment. It's for a tarot reading with me, with good old me. All you have to do is be a liker of the Parasearch Radio group page and enter your name on the competition post if you'd like to be part of that. That is going to be drawn on the 20th, which is next Friday, on the Dark Mirror Show. And hopefully we'll have lots of people enter. I know Cheryl's entered.
I have.
Which I'll be very nervous if she wins.
Oh, please.
And your crap, Kerry, and your crap.
I know, but I know what I'm doing. I've been doing it long enough. Anyway, on Monday, tomorrow, I will go live on the Parasearch Radio group page to give you a rundown of all the shows we've got coming up for you next week. And we have got some crackers coming up, trust me. Don't forget, if you've missed any of the shows, which I know you haven't, but if you have, we are on SoundCloud. We are on the Spreaker app. We are on YouTube. We are also have archived shows being moved over onto... poor old Kaz, she can't enter because she's staff. Bless her. Like she hasn't got access to it anyway. We also have... where was I? Yes, all the archive shows are now on Podbean. We have a brand new website, which is parasearchradio.com. And we have lots and lots of new stuff up and coming. So keep an eye on Parasearch Radio. And on that note, I'd like to say thank you so much, ladies, for joining me in the studio tonight. It's been brilliant.
You're welcome.
Really has.
Really enjoyed
Awesome
tonight.
evening. Yeah, I have to. Thank you, Cheryl.
You're
I just
welcome.
learned so much every time I talk to you. I'm like, oh, I know, I've learned so much. And I'm really in control of my boundaries now.
Good girl. Well done.
Anyway, thank you so much, everybody in the chat room. And on that note, we bid you a very farewell. We'll be back 9 p.m. tomorrow evening with the Parasearch Radio Encore show. And on that note, I'll bid you a very farewell. Good night.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.